Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where we take complex stories from around the world of technology and put them in a language that everyone can understand, so businesses can leverage these technologies to be more successful. And something else I always try and do on this Daily Tech Podcast is bust a few myths and show people how businesses who you don't assume or associate with certain technologies are actually leading the way in those areas. For example, if I was to say, what does a BlackBerry mean to you? I suspect you would say the handheld devices from the pre-iPhone days. But in January this year at CES 2022, I spoke with Peter Virk from BlackBerry, who was telling me how over 195 million cars worldwide currently use BlackBerry software. And BlackBerry Ivy, developed in partnership with AWS, is the company's cloud-connected software ecosystem that is equipping OEMs to analyse vehicle sensor data and derive actionable insights. But here in May 2022, at a time where many SMBs are thinking, is it possible to avoid getting hacked amid a culture of increasingly creative cyber attacks? Or is it all just merely a pipe dream? I want to know more about what it really looks like for small businesses to be fully protected against cyber attacks. And is it really sustainable? And also, I want to explore why a prevention first cybersecurity approach is much more than just a perimeter defence. And how at its best, it's an active effort to neutralise malware prior to the exploitation stage of a kill chain. And all these areas are something that BlackBerry are excelling in at the moment. And the reason I mention all this is because BlackBerry are making waves at the moment in the industry with its prevention-first cybersecurity approach. And I wanted to learn more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Munich in Germany, where Hans-Peter Bauer from BlackBerry is going to share his story, his insights, and the cybersecurity work that BlackBerry are leading the way on at the moment. So, a massive warm welcome to the podcast. Can you tell the listeners a little about your journey, how you got here, and your origin story for everybody listening?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for the question. So, I call myself a fossil of the cybersecurity industry. I'm in cyber since about 25 years. So I know it almost from the first antivirus stuff. And there's all this development of that. It's really innovative technology, even it's on the dark side, but as well as on the good side, so it's always like a Formula One race, The good side is a bit faster and it comes back to the dark side. And it's like real crime in the meanwhile as well. So, we are always trying to catch the bad boys. So that's so I started basically my career in cyber with antivirus.
Wow, what a great story! It was from there that path kind of led you to BlackBerry, and most people listening will think of the handsets from 15 to 20 years ago. But I did speak with Peter Virk about the great work that BlackBerry are doing with autonomous vehicles right now. But can you offer an overview of what BlackBerry means to you here in 2022?
For me, BlackBerry is a highly innovative technology company. Thinking about, you just mentioned it, think about the BlackBerry handsets. I did love it. For me, at that time, it was the best mobile device on earth, because for a couple of reasons. It was reliable, it was good connectivity, and it was safe. So BlackBerry, the whole name BlackBerry stands for something: reliability, safety or secure, whatever, and technology. And that's valid for everything. You ask about the QNX and the autonomous drive system. I mean, BlackBerry we talked about my location. I'm in Munich. There's BMW, BlackBerry, and BMW work very, very close together in order to get all these attributes to the cars as well. Our QNX system is a perfect system developed out of our history in BlackBerry. It is a reliable, trusted, highly connectivity system, which is needed in the cars, because if you think about autonomous driving, then it's 100% ever connected, 24/7, 365. So that's what it is, and that's where BlackBerry stands for. And and BlackBerry has a second thing where we used our previous technology, move the transition from hardware-based, which was the handset manufacturing, to some more software. Because you can imagine, during the time where you saw this handheld, you only saw the handheld. But there was a huge service behind it. There was a huge server behind it. It was almost already cloud business behind it. So things we transform into the new world. So we use all this knowledge, this experience we have, the best practices we have, in order to secure the world. And with a couple of acquisitions of technology like Silence technology, which is one of the best technologies in the market, I tell you, because it was the first artificial intelligence engine in security, in cybersecurity. And now we back that in basically in our overall best practice of trusted, reliable technology in order to provide more safety to the world.
And I'm glad you've brought that up, because to many people listening, they don't associate BlackBerry with cybersecurity. And like you said, you're very passionate about securing the world with your technology. And in fact, you are helping businesses and government agencies across Europe alone proactively protect their IT infrastructures against these growing onslaught and threat of cybersecurity attacks. But can you tell me a little bit more about your work? Because one of the things I love doing about this podcast is busting a few myths and letting people see behind the curtain and seeing some of the tech that's keeping the world safer. And that's what you guys are doing at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and I tell you, BlackBerry stands for disruptive technology. When the first BlackBerry handset was provided, it was disruptive to the handheld market. And now with our approach to cybersecurity, it's disruptive again, because we use artificial intelligence and we move cybersecurity from a more reactive approach. Something has to happen, and then we secure you, to a prevention approach. So it's our marketing slogan anyways. It's prevention first. So we try to keep the bad boys out, even if we don't know the attack really. And that's because of the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the artificial intelligence engine of BlackBerry is the one which is longest in the market, since 12 years. So, and you can imagine it's almost like a child, a young child has a certain knowledge. If it learns over 12 years, it goes to college, it knows much more than a 5 or 6 year old child. So our engine is the most mature artificial engine in the market.
And I think I know the answer to this question before I ask it, because your passion for cybersecurity really comes across today. But do you think it's impossible for SMBs to avoid getting hacked amid the culture of increasingly creative and sophisticated attacks, or is it merely a pipe dream? What would you say to those small to medium-sized businesses?
I think they have to choose the right partner.
Yeah,
I'm a strong believer that the SMB market is as vulnerable as every other market as well. A large government organization, medium organization, small organization. They are all target for the bad boys at the moment, for the hackers. But all those organizations can choose the right approach in order to stay secure. And for SMB, for example, it's perfect. We have a managed security service offering for them. Because especially in the SMB, you have basically two real kind of issues, problem statements, case for action. One is in SMB, you don't have hundreds of resources to focus on cybersecurity. I mean, if in a very usual traditional SMB in an organization, they have 1, 2, 3, a couple of guys for IT, but they cannot focus on cybersecurity only. So it's basically part of their job. It's not their focus. Secondly, cybersecurity specialists are very rare on the market. As you may have heard, in 2021 already, we had roughly about a leak of about 2 million cybersecurity specialists around the world. Yeah. So it's a market for people, and it's a market for people. Cybersecurity specialists are very expensive. So an SMB organization most probably even cannot afford to pay the salary of a cybersecurity specialist, and it would destroy its own salary structure if they would hire somebody like that. And it's not good enough to hire just one, because if you want to have if you want to stay 24 hours secure, then you need most probably two or even three. So I think that's why we help with our management service offerings, cybersecurity managed service offering, help especially the SMB market to stay secure. And in addition to that, with our prevention first approach, so we keep the stuff out already. We don't let anything in. We have a 99.9 hit rate. So there is not much to do for the cybersecurity specialists anymore, because our intelligence already prevent you. And that's why we promote the prevention first approach. Prevention is better than reaction.
And I completely agree with you on that. So I'm trying to think, for the average small business owner out there, what does it really look like for a small business to be fully protected against cyber attacks? And is it really sustainable, do you think, with this approach?
Yes, I think so. We have an offering, what we call Guard.
Yeah. Guard
offers you basically all our technology with added services. So we provide you with not just with the artificial intelligence, we provide you with the human intelligence as well, in order to keep you safe. You don't think about updates, upgrades, putting all that stuff in addition to it. We do that for you. So that's why we have this managed security service. I think managed security service is the way to stay secure, especially for SMB. Because they cannot afford a SOC, a security operations center. I mean, it's just it's too expensive. Managed security service and our approach with artificial intelligence makes security for even SMB organizations affordable.
And what would you say to maybe critics that would say that the prevention first cybersecurity approach is more of a perimeter defense? What would you say to people to get across the fact that it's much more than that?
It's much more than that, because we don't say that the legacy systems are not valid anymore.
Yeah.
They have a right to stay. But I think as much as I can prevent, the less I have to invest in reactive technology. And that's how we make it. There is, like, if you think about a real security infrastructure or environment, prevention first basically put your defense line just ahead of your own organization and infrastructure. Still means there is a 0.00 something percentage that some things get in. But the effort then to defend against the single one which comes maybe through is kind of reasonable. It's limited. So an EDR system is still valid, but the effort to run it is much less because of the prevention first approach.
And if we've got any business leaders listening from an SMB, what advice would you offer to them on how not to fall victim to a cybersecurity attack or a ransomware attack, etc.?
Look, I mean, I have to mention it because you said ransomware. Yeah. None of our BlackBerry customer was impacted by ransomware because of the prevention first approach. I think, that's a great statement. Look, and one of the most critical attacks at the moment is ransomware. And ransomware in much different ways. Look, SMB companies, a lot of SMB companies are in the manufacturing area, are in the service area. And now ransomware even spreads to the production environment. It's not just like, getting to a bank. Or another hard example is the health industry. We saw a lot of attacks to hospitals, to doctors, so on. So, and the approach of ransomware at the moment is they ask for less money because then it makes it easier to pay. Mm-hmm. But with our approach, we just keep them out because our components, and that's interesting enough for overall security, and that's why I say prevention first is not just to move security to the perimeter. Our approach are building blocks to this, what we call zero trust architecture, which is from the most of the analysts seen as the future of a secure IT environment. And it includes the cloud as well. So it's not just on premise, it's your own IT environment. It's also the cloud environment as well.
And we were talking about skill shortages a few moments ago, and I've been saying to parents of any teenager who said they just don't know what they want to study for, or they don't know what direction they want to take a career in. And I always say cybersecurity, as you said a few moments ago, 2 million unfilled vacancies in the world. I think there's something like a 0.01% unemployment in cybersecurity. It's a great salary out there as well. But I mean, with that shortage of IT workers and security specialists being so critical, what can organisations do to attract new cyber specialists and get more people into the industry, do you think?
I think that I think university, first of all, it's important that university really kind of open up this kind of state-of-the-art security kind of unit, so that they have professors who are really kind of state-of-the-art. Because in many ways, I saw universities, they teach about stuff which is even a year old. And in cybersecurity, a year is almost ages away, right? Yeah. So, from cybersecurity is one of the most fast developing industry. It's, I think it's so innovative on both sides, as I mentioned, on the dark side as well as on the good side. That's almost unbelievable. And I tell you, to give them a career option, I am in cybersecurity, as I mentioned, almost 25 years. And I tell you, this industry was always growing. And it always created new jobs, and it's highly attractive jobs because you work with innovation. You work in an environment that's permanently growing. So it's just, if somebody want to really make a career with a bit of technical background as well, then cybersecurity is most probably a safe harbor.
Yeah. I mean, and on that side of things, if we were to look into the future, and I was asking you to look into your virtual crystal ball, what makes you hopeful about the future of cybersecurity? Because at the end of the day, bad news sells. That's what we see on all the front of the newspapers. Good news doesn't sell so much. So I'd like to restore the balance. What makes you hopeful about the future?
I think it's as you mentioned, it makes the balance. I think there is a lot of bad news, but there's a lot of good news as well. By using state-of-the-art technology like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, apply the newest technology on the cyber side. And this makes me hopeful because, I saw so much innovation during my 20 plus years in this industry. It's just unbelievable. It's just great. And we as people, we got a lot of development as well. We learned a lot. We applied best practices. So I think a machine or the system, the software, won't replace the people there. It should be a tool to help people kind of to create safe environments.
Before I let you go, I always ask every guest to leave everybody listening with something. And for today, I'm going to ask you to leave them with either a book that has inspired you throughout your career or a favourite song that we can add to our Spotify playlist. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with today that we can add to either our Spotify playlist or Amazon wishlist?
I like the song "We Are the Champions" from Freddie Mercury. That's my most favourite song ever because I like to win. I like to win against the bad boys in the net.
What a great choice. I'll add that onto our Spotify playlist for everyone listening. And we've covered so much around BlackBerry, the work you're doing there with cybersecurity, autonomous vehicles, and so much more. And I understand that BlackBerry is a huge website. So for anyone listening, just want to find out more information about anything we've talked about, where would you point them to?
I would point him to LinkedIn, where I regularly post some stuff in order to kind of keep people informed about security. I think it's so important that people really can be aware about cyber and cybersecurity.
Well, I'll add that link to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. And I can't thank you enough today for busting a few myths, sharing your very personal origin story, and leaving us with a great song to boot. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and we had a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
And of course, this isn't the end for us. The universe might throw us in back together for the Oktoberfest, which I believe is coming back to Munich at the end of the year, right?
That's a great idea, and you're always welcome in Munich.
I just loved hearing more about BlackBerry and how they're using their technology now. And I hope you enjoyed it and learned as much as I did. And as the world opens back up, I do hope to meet Hans at Oktoberfest or at a tech conference in Germany in the not too distant future. And speaking of which, if you're attending the Cybersecurity Day by the Thales Group in Paris or Cisco Live in Vegas, let me know. It'll be great to meet you in person. But as always, keep those questions, pictures to come on the show, or whatever it might be, over to me at techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram at Neil C. Hughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk if you'd like to work with me. But I've got another guest lined up for you bright and early tomorrow, but this is the end of this episode, so a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.